Life at 40 was exactly as I had meticulously planned it, a successful career as a department head, a comfortable home, and a shiny car in the driveway. Love and romance? Those were chapters one had skipped, focusing instead on my spreadsheets and meetings. Until one unassuming evening at my friend Lisa's party, where my well-ordered world took an unexpected turn. "Anna, you need to get out more," Lisa had insisted over the phone. "It'll be good for you." I had reluctantly agreed, not really expecting much from the evening. As I arrived at the party, the atmosphere was buzzing with laughter and chatter. I felt out of place, awkwardly holding a glass of wine, scanning the room for a familiar face. That's when I noticed him. He was in the middle of a lively group, but somehow seemed separate from them. There was an ease about him that caught my attention. He walked over to me, a confident yet friendly smile on his face. "Hi, I'm Tom," he said, offering his hand. "I don't think we've met before." "I'm Anna," I replied, shaking his hand. His grip was firm, reassuring. "First time at one of Lisa's infamous parties?" he asked, his eyes twinkling with amusement. "Is it that obvious?" I said, trying to match his light tone. "Just a lucky guess," Tom chuckled. "So, what brings you here tonight? Friend of the host?" "Yes, Lisa and I go way back. But parties aren't really my scene. I'm more the type to curl up with a good book at home," I admitted. A fellow book lover. What do you like to read?" Tom asked, leaning against the wall, completely engaged in our conversation. "Mysteries mostly. There's something about unraveling a puzzle that's relaxing after a day of work," I said, feeling a bit more at ease. "I get that. I'm more into biographies, though. Real-life stories have a certain appeal, don't you think?" Tom said. The conversation flowed effortlessly from there. We discussed everything from our favorite authors to our jobs. I learned he was a graphic designer, passionate about his work, and surprisingly, 5 years younger than me. His sense of humor was a breath of fresh air. As the night wore on, we somehow found ourselves tucked away in a quieter corner of the room, lost in conversation. It was uncanny how natural it felt to talk to him, as if we'd known each other for years rather than hours. When it was time to leave, Tom insisted on walking me to my car. "I hope I get to see you again, Anna," he said earnestly as we stood beside my car. "I think I'd like that," I found myself saying, surprised by my own willingness to step out of my comfort zone. "Good night, Tom." Driving home, my mind replayed our conversation, his laughter, the ease of the evening. It was unsettling yet exhilarating. For the first time in a long while, I felt a spark of something new, something unexpected. After that party, Tom and I started seeing each other more. It wasn't like anything I had experienced before. He was thoughtful in ways that caught me off guard. He'd surprise me with my favorite coffee at work or send me texts just to say he was thinking of me. One evening, he invited me over for dinner. I walked into his apartment to find he had cooked an entire meal. "I hope you're hungry," he said, grinning from ear to ear. "I'm impressed. I didn't know you could cook," I said, taking in the spread on the table. "There's a lot you don't know about me," he replied with a wink. "For instance, I make a mean lasagna." As we ate, he told me stories about his family, his dreams, his fears. It was intimate, real. After dinner, we settled on the couch, a comfortable silence enveloping us. "You know, Anna, I never thought I'd meet someone like you," Tom said, looking into my eyes. "Like me? How so?" I asked, feeling a warmth spread through me. "Someone who's not just about the surface stuff. You see the world differently. It's refreshing," he said, brushing a strand of hair from my face. I didn't know what to say, so I just smiled, feeling a flutter in my stomach. Weeks turned into months, and our relationship deepened. Tom was charming, not just to me but to everyone around him. He even won over my parents when I introduced him. My mom, who was usually hard to please, said, "He's a keeper, that one." But the real turning point came 6 months into our relationship. It was a regular evening, we were walking in the park after dinner. "Anna, I've been thinking, Tom started, sounding serious for once. I don't want to spend another day without you. Marry me. His proposal caught me off guard. Tom, are you serious? We've only been together for 6 months. I know it's fast. But when something feels right, why wait? He argued, his eyes searching mine for an answer. I looked at him, this man who had unexpectedly become my world. Yes, I found myself saying, yes, I'll marry you. Married life started like something out of a storybook. Tom and I were in our own little world, wrapped up in the bliss that comes with being newlyweds. In those first few months, Tom was incredibly attentive. He'd surprise me with little notes hidden around the house, each one making my day a little brighter. One evening, I found a note on the bathroom mirror. Meet me in the backyard, it read. Curious, I made my way outside to find Tom had set up a makeshift projector. Movie night under the stars, he announced proudly. I couldn't help but laugh. You really go all out, don't you? Only the best for my wife, he replied with a wink. As we cuddled under a blanket watching an old classic, I remember thinking I had never been this happy. But it wasn't just the grand gestures. It was the small things too. How he'd make coffee just the way I liked it, or how we'd cook together, dancing around the kitchen to some old tune. One day, as we were making dinner, I playfully splashed him with water. Hey, what was that for? He exclaimed, pretending to be offended. Just keeping you on your toes, I shot back, laughing. He came over, a mock stern look on his face. You're going to pay for that, he said, before breaking into a smile and pulling me into a hug. Life with Tom felt easy, like everything had fallen into place. Even when we disagreed, it was never anything serious. We had this rhythm, this understanding between us that felt natural. But as perfect as everything seemed, there were moments that gave me pause. Like when Tom casually suggested that we should have a joint bank account for convenience. I remember frowning slightly at the idea. Isn't it a bit soon for that? We're doing fine managing our finances separately. He shrugged, a carefree smile on his face. It's just easier this way, isn't it? One less thing to worry about. I hesitated but eventually agreed. After all, we were married now. Sharing a bank account seemed like a logical step in our partnership. The shift was subtle at first. After we merged our bank accounts, I noticed small discrepancies in our finances. Tom started spending more, often on things that seemed extravagant. One evening, I decided to bring it up. We were sitting in the living room, bills scattered on the coffee table. Tom, I've been noticing some large amounts coming out of our account lately. Fancy suits, high-end gadgets, it's a bit much, don't you think? Tom looked up from his phone, seemingly unfazed. Oh, that. Well, I need to look the part, don't I? You can't have your husband looking shabby. I frowned. But we need to be smart about our spending. We have a mortgage and other responsibilities. He waved his hand dismissively. Relax, Anna. We're doing fine. Don't be such a worrywart. That conversation left a sour taste in my mouth. Tom's attitude towards money was so different from mine. I was used to saving, planning for the future, while he seemed to live in the moment, unconcerned about tomorrow. As weeks passed, Tom's behavior started to change in other ways too. He seemed less interested in spending time with me, often opting to go out with his friends instead. Then came the day when Tom dropped another bombshell. He came home early from work, a buoyant smile on his face. Guess what? I've decided to go part-time at work. I'll be working only till noon, he announced cheerfully as he raided the fridge. I stared at him, dumbfounded. Part-time? Why? We haven't discussed this. He shrugged, grabbing a beer. I figured since you're doing so well with your job, I could take it easy. Plus, I want to focus on my hobbies, maybe hit the gym more. I felt a surge of frustration. Tom, we're a team. Decisions like this should be made together. He looked at me, his expression one of annoyance. Why are you making a big deal out of this? It's not like we can't afford it. The conversation escalated from there, ending with Tom storming out of the room. I sat there, feeling a mix of anger and disbelief. It was around that time that I suggested maybe we should start thinking about having a child, hoping it would bring us closer. Tom's reaction, however, was far from what I expected. A child? Are you serious, Anna? I think you're a bit too old for that, he said bluntly, not even looking up from his phone. His words stung. I was taken aback by his insensitivity. Too old? That's a harsh thing to say, Tom. He shrugged. It's the truth. Besides, I'm not ready to be tied down with kids. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This wasn't the Tom I married. He used to be considerate, loving. Now, he was turning into someone I hardly recognized. As the days turned into weeks, the distance between us grew. The man I fell in love with was fading away, replaced by someone who seemed to care only about himself. I started to feel more like an ATM than a wife, a provider rather than a partner. The changes in Tom were becoming more pronounced, and it felt like our marriage was on a slippery slope. His part-time job meant he was home more, but not in the way I had hoped. He spent most of his time at the gym or hanging out with friends, leaving me to handle the household chores. One evening, I came home exhausted from work, only to find the house in a mess. Tom was sprawled on the couch, scrolling through his phone. "You're home early," I commented, dropping my bag. He didn't look up. "Yeah." Gym was crowded. Decided to skip it. I sighed, looking around. "Tom, since you're home more, do you think you could help out with some of these chores?" He frowned, his tone defensive. "What? Now you want me to be a house husband? That's not my thing, Anna." I felt my patience wearing thin. It's not about being a house husband. It's about helping each other out. He shrugged, unmoved. "I don't know, Anna. I have other things to do." I bit back a sharper retort, feeling a growing sense of frustration and loneliness. It was like talking to a wall. He just didn't get it, or he didn't care. I couldn't tell which was worse. The situation worsened when I suggested he could use his free time for something productive, like taking care of the house or cooking. "Me? Cook? Come on, Anna, you know I'm no good in the kitchen." He laughed it off. "But you could learn. It would be helpful," I pressed, hoping he'd see reason. He scoffed. "I have better things to do with my time." I felt a surge of anger. "Like what? Going to the gym and hanging out with your friends?" He rolled his eyes. "You just don't get it, do you? I need my space, Anna." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This was not the partnership I had signed up for. I was working full-time, managing the house, and now, apparently, I was expected to be okay, with his complete lack of contribution. The final straw came when I found out about his demands at home. One evening, I came home late from a particularly grueling day at work. "Hey, what's for dinner?" Tom asked as soon as I walked in. I was taken aback. "I just got home. I thought maybe you'd have something ready since you were home all day." He laughed, as if I had made a joke. "Me? Cook? Come on, Anna. That's your thing." I stood there, disbelief and anger swirling inside me. "My thing? What about teamwork, Tom? What about supporting each other?" He just shrugged, completely indifferent to my feelings. I went to bed that night feeling more alone than ever. The man I had married, the man I thought I knew, was becoming a stranger to me. Our conversations were now either superficial or arguments. The warmth and connection we once shared seemed like a distant memory. One afternoon, while doing a deep clean, I moved the bed to get to the dust underneath and spotted something glinting against the wall. Reaching down, my heart sank as I picked up an earring that certainly wasn't mine. The cold wave of realization hit me hard. Sitting on the edge of the bed, I turned the earring over in my fingers, a storm of questions and fears swirling in my mind. When Tom returned home later, I confronted him directly. "Tom, I found this earring under our bed. It's not mine. Can you explain? He glanced at the earring with a nervous laugh. Where did that come from? Maybe it's from one of your friends. I knew none of my friends owned anything like this. No, Tom. My friends haven't been over in ages. And they don't wear this style. He gave a casual shrug, but I could tell he was uneasy. I don't know, Anna. Maybe it's yours and you forgot about it. I felt frustration building inside me. I know what my jewelry looks like, Tom. This isn't mine. There was a tense silence. Finally, Tom sighed and admitted, okay, it probably belongs to a friend of mine. A friend? My voice trembled with a mix of disbelief and hurt. Yeah, she must have dropped it when she was here, he said, avoiding my gaze. The room seemed to spin as I processed his words. When she was here, in our house, in our bedroom. He gave a half-hearted defense. It's not a big deal, Anna. It was just a visit. I was incensed. Just a visit? You brought another woman into our home, our bedroom? That's a big deal, Tom. He tried to downplay it, but I could see right through his act. You're overreacting, Anna. It was nothing. The conversation escalated from there, ending with Tom storming out and me left alone, feeling a deep sense of betrayal. That night, as I lay in bed, Tom's admission replayed in my mind. I realized that my marriage had hit a point of no return. I couldn't just brush this under the rug. I needed to know the extent of Tom's betrayal, to understand what I was dealing with. The next day, I picked up the phone and dialed an old friend. He was someone I had known for years, someone discreet and skilled in handling sensitive situations. Hey, it's Anna. I need a favor, something personal. I need to know what's really going on when I'm not around. Can you help? There was a brief pause on the other end. Of course, Anna. I know just how to handle this. Let's meet and discuss the details. Then came the incident that broke the camel's back. My father had an accident and needed a wheelchair. I found a state-of-the-art model that would give him some independence, but it was expensive. I didn't hesitate, though. This was my dad, and he deserved the best. I was discussing it on the phone with my mom when Tom walked in. What's that about a wheelchair? He asked, a curious look on his face. I hung up and turned to him. My dad had an accident. I'm buying him a modern wheelchair to help him get around. He raised his eyebrows. Sounds expensive. How much? I told him the amount, and his reaction was shocking. Are you crazy? That's a lot of money, Anna. I was taken aback. It's for my dad, Tom. He needs it. He scoffed. Your dad's old, Anna. Why waste so much money on a wheelchair? You should be saving that for us, for our future. I felt a surge of anger. It's my money, Tom. And it's for my dad. I'm not going to skimp on something he needs. Tom's face turned red. Your money? What about our money? You know what you should be buying instead? That motorcycle I've been looking at. That's a better investment than some old man's wheelchair. I couldn't believe my ears. A motorcycle? You think a motorcycle is more important than my injured father? He shrugged. Yeah, I do. I work hard. I deserve it. I shook my head in disbelief. You barely work, Tom. And even if you did, my father's needs come before your wants. He got in my face, his voice raised. You're being selfish, Anna. All you care about is your family. What about me? What about what I want? I stood my ground. This isn't about you, Tom. This is about my father needing help, and I'm going to give it to him, whether you like it or not. Tom laughed mockingly. You know what, Anna? I married you for your money. You're just an old, ugly woman who I thought would be easy to control. But I see now you're just a fool. If you don't buy me that motorcycle, I'll divorce you. And good luck getting married again at your age. Let's see who'd want you after me. I felt a surge of anger mixed with determination. Reaching into the drawer of the coffee table, I pulled out a folder and slammed it onto the table. These are pictures from a private detective, Tom. They show exactly what you've been up to when I'm not around, I said, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. His smirk faltered as he flipped through the photos, his face turning pale. The images were undeniable proof of his infidelity, his betrayal laid bare for him to see. And this, I continued, pulling out another set of documents, is our divorce paperwork. I'm done, Tom. I'm done being disrespected, lied to, and used. He looked up from the photos, his earlier bravado gone. Anna, please, we can talk about this. I didn't mean those things I said. But it was too late. I had seen the truth behind the man I married, and there was no going back. I've made my decision, Tom. It's over, I said firmly. As he left the house that day, the folder and divorce papers in his hands, I felt a profound sense of relief mixed with sorrow. It was the end of a painful chapter in my life, but also the beginning of a new, albeit uncertain, journey. The divorce proceedings were nothing short of a roller coaster. Tom, in a desperate attempt to salvage what he could, demanded alimony, citing the stark difference between our salaries. His audacity knew no bounds, and the trial turned into a battleground of accusations and legal maneuvers. I sat in the courtroom, my lawyer by my side, clutching the folder that held all the evidence of Tom's infidelity and betrayal. As his demands for alimony echoed through the room, I felt a mix of disbelief and determination. This was the man I had loved, and now he was trying to exploit me one last time. When it was my turn, I presented everything, the photographs from the private detective, bank statements showing his extravagant spending, and testimonies about his lifestyle. The evidence was overwhelming, painting a clear picture of a man who had taken advantage of my trust and love for his own gain. The judge listened intently, flipping through the evidence, his expression unreadable. After what seemed like an eternity, he finally spoke. The court ruled in my favor. Tom's claims for alimony were dismissed, and the divorce was granted on my terms. I remember exhaling a breath I didn't realize I was holding, a weight lifting off my shoulders. It was over. The legal ties that bound me to Tom were severed, and I was free. In the aftermath of the trial, life slowly started to return to a new kind of normal. I focused on rebuilding myself, reconnecting with the parts of me that had been lost in the shadows of my marriage. One day, as I was having coffee with a friend, she mentioned Tom. Have you heard about your ex? He's in deep trouble. Debt's piling up, and I heard he's even hiding from some angry husbands. I sipped my coffee, feeling a sense of closure. Really? Can't say I'm surprised. He made his bed, now he has to lie in it. The conversation moved on, but a part of me felt a sense of vindication. Tom's actions had finally caught up with him. It was a harsh reality, but one he had brought upon himself. As I walked home that day, the sun setting in the distance, I felt lighter. The chapter of my life that was Tom was closed, a bittersweet ending to a story that had started with so much promise.